Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album More. Today we're going to look at two releases of somewhat of a southern persuasion. All right, one of the bands released this album in 1973. It's their third release. The title of the album also has a 3 in it, although it could be, looked at as 3, meaning the three of them. Okay, they're a trio, or 3, their third album. Of course, we're talking about zztop from Texas, a little old band from Texas, Tres Hombres. Okay, the other band from Florida released this album a year later. This was actually their second album, second studio album, and of course the album is titled Second Helping from Lynyrd Skynyrd. All right, I chose these two because of the kind of play with the numbers in the title, right? They're, kind of released somewhat around the same time, a year apart. We could do all day long. We could do, I almost did like each their first albums, which I might still do at some point. But for now, I kind of wanted to do this, right? So let's take a look at each one, okay? So first of all, we've got Tres Hombres from zztop. All right, look at that delicious platter there, huh? All sorts of Mexican stuff in there, right? So this is a probably for a lot of people considered one of their best albums, if not their best album. Personally, it might be my favorite. I love the first like 3, 4, 5 albums quite a bit. We can probably even go 6. I think this one's probably the strongest from start to finish, possibly. I don't know. I love the early zztop stuff. So, this has got some classic tunes on it. Classic tunes on it. Again, whether you want to just call them a blues rock band, a heavy blues band, a southern rock band, whatever. zztop kind of never really fit into any little category, so to speak. But, some southern rock folks do talk about them when they talk about favorite bands of that little subgenre, because they were from Texas. That's kind of down south, right? So, southern United States anyway. So, kicking off with Waiting for the Bus, killer tune, okay? That's followed by Just Left Chicago. Those two tunes kind of always go hand in hand. They show just how great Billy Gibbons and the boys kind of mastered that whole blues rock thing, okay? But the songs have some muscle, right? Gibson Les Paul into a Marshall amp. Can't beat it, that early zztop sound. Track number 3, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers. Doesn't get much rowdier and raunchier than that. That's definitely in my top 3 favorite zztop songs of all time. Just a raucous good tune, heavy tune. Then how about Master Sparks? I love the way that tune just kind of like, it's got great groove, stop-start arrangements, just classy and raunchy at the same time, if that's even possible. Then Hot Blue and Righteous follows. That actually ends side 1 of the original LP, the original vinyl. Probably my least favorite tune on this album. There's like 2 songs on this album that I'm like not nuts about. That's one of them. It's okay. It's kind of like a slow blues tune. It's just lacking a little something for me, a little fire, right? And then we got Move Me On Down the Line, which is a great up-tempo rocker. I love that tune. And then possibly one of their heaviest tunes, Precious and Grace. I mean, the heft of that song, man. Billy Gibbons' riffs in that, and God, Dusty's bass, just heavy, groove-laden, molten blues rock at its best. Then, of course, you got LaGrange, which is one of the band's most memorable tunes, a beloved song, another killer tune. Then the really cool Chic, really kind of bluesy tune. Love that one. And then Have You Heard? Probably the other song on this album that I'm kind of like, yeah, it's cool. Not spectacular. But the rest of it is. So that's Tres Hombres in a nutshell. A really, really cool album. And then we're going to move over to this next one, right? So Second Helping, another really strong album from Lynyrd Skynyrd, follows their, dynamite debut. It's Lynyrd Skynyrd never, at least in the early days before the plane crash, you could arguably say that this band never released a bad album. They're all really fine, damn strong albums. I personally like all the Lynyrd Skynyrd albums, some a little less than others. I'm talking about the later era after the plane crash, post all the stuff they did after that when they reformed back in the late 80s with Johnny Van Zandt on vocals. a bunch of fine albums there too, but we're talking about this one right here. So of course it kicks off with the song that so many people love and equally amount that so many people never need to hear again, Sweet Home Alabama. I'm probably in that category. I think I've heard Sweet Home Alabama enough times in my life. It is a great song. Absolutely it is. It's a classic for a reason. Man, I've heard it to death. I don't need to ever hear it again. I Need You, great tune. One of the unsung songs from this album, I believe, that don't get enough attention because you got a bunch of hits on this album or popular tracks. That was never one of them, but I Need You is great. It's a little lengthy. It's got some awesome Gary Rossington, Les Paul growling solos on it. Dig it. Great tune. Don't Ask No Questions. That's a good tune. Real rootsy number for the band. God, you can almost call that country, right? All right. Working for MCA. Probably the best song on the album. Working for MCA cranks. Heavy stuff. All right. You know, the band kind of complaining about their record label, right? The Ballad of Curtis Lowe. Another kind of rootsy country rock tune. Cool tune. I like it. That's got a lot of charm to it, that song. I always dug that. Swamp Music. Another killer tune that only Skynyrd could record, right? I mean, that's just that tune. It's called Swamp Music for a reason. That sounds like the guys were just jamming down the swamps of Gainesville, right? Then you got The Needle and the Spoon. Another one of my favorites from the album. That's a really cool tune. Popular, one of the more popular songs from the album. And then, of course, Call Me the Breeze, which probably next to Sweet Home Alabama, probably the most known song from this album. Call Me the Breeze is just a great kind of bluesy, up-tempo shuffle. It's catchy. It's got great, guitar licks from, you got Ed King, Gary Rossington, and Alan Collins. Man, the three-guitar army. Gotta love that, right? Let's just go over the lineup here, right, on this album. So you got Ronnie Van Zant on vocals, Gary Rossington on Gibson Les Paul, Alan Collins on Gibson Firebird, Ed King on Fender Stratocaster, Billy Powell on keyboards, Leon Wilkeson on Fender bass, Firebird bass, and Bob Burns on drums, produced by none other than Al Cooper, so who's doing a lot of producing around that time. So two really fine albums from 73 and 74. Which one do I like? Holy moly. How do you choose? I love both of these bands. Love them. Good question. I was still trying to decide this right before I started filming this, and I'm like, I still don't kind of know. You know what? I'm gonna give it to ZZ Top, just because this might be my favorite ZZ Top album, or it's one of the. It's definitely a top 3 favorite. But there's just some tunes on here that I just love to death. God, Waiting for the Bus, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, Precious and Grace. I mean, it's just there's a handful of tunes that are just like, mandatory. And while there are some great ones on here too, for crying out loud, Working for MCA and Needle and the Spoon, Call Me the Breeze. I gotta give a slight edge to this one. You know what? This is going to be a unanimous decision, but it's going to be close. 16-14, 16-13, 15-14. It wins it by a nose. I think because it's got Billy Gibbons on it, that's kind of like what noses it have. I'm just a huge fan of his guitar playing, and this is just a killer album, but this is as well. So curious what you guys think. Again, in the end, it doesn't really matter what my favorite is, what your favorite is. We all know and can all agree that these are two great albums. It's just an excuse to look at each album, talk about them, what's great about them, and then in the end, pick a favorite. If we don't have a favorite, we like them both too closely. That's cool too, right? Neither one is better or worse than the other. It's all in the eyes and ears of the beholder, but we just love doing the show because it's a way to pull out two albums that might be kind of related some way. Maybe they're in the same genre. Maybe they were released around the same time. Maybe they had similar members in each lineup when they were released. Maybe, in this instance, we use the play on the words, the numbers and the titles, that sort of thing. Whatever. All right. I'm usually trying to do little things like that to put these two albums together. But again, it's like I said, neither one is better or worse than the other. It depends on what your preferences are. But like I said, I think we can all agree that these are two killer albums by two killer bands at the height of their powers. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube as often as possible. So coming up tomorrow, I hope to do another Classic Album War tomorrow. Like I said on a couple shows ago, I'm going to be traveling for business Monday and Tuesday this week, so I probably will not get to anything then. So I'm trying to get a couple of these videos out to you before I go. And then when I'm back on Wednesday, we'll get right back onto the regular schedule. So we'll see you then, guys. See you tomorrow morning. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Visit us on the web at www.zztop.org. Check us out on Facebook. You can vote for these. The poll is live on Facebook. Let us know which one you prefer, and if you can't choose, that's okay. Don't vote. Put in a comment that you love them both to death. Can't make a choice. That's cool too, right? Check us out on Twitter, and like I said, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.